That's looking good. Preparing the live stream.
Hi, David and Susan Terrard.
All right, Donald, I think you're up.
Well, good morning, Rotary District 7770. This is Donald Hovis from the Cova Rotary Club in Myrtle Beach, and welcome to Conversations with Rotary Action People for Monday, May the 4th. It's also Star Wars Day, so may the 4th be with you. To kick us off this morning, I'm going to start with the vision statement of Rotary. Together, we see a world where people unite, take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Joining us today from the Spring Valley Rotary Club and the president and CEO of the Transitions Homeless Center is Mr. Craig Currey. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Donald. Thanks for having me today.
We are honored you're with us, and thank you for spending some time with us today. We look forward to learning about transitions here in just a little bit, but to kick it off, we want to know more about you and Rotary.
Well, my experience in Rotary, I've been a Rotarian for about 8 years, all at the Spring Valley Rotary Club. I joined there after retiring from the Army. And right as I was retiring, actually. So I've been involved with Rotary in the community ever since I've been a CEO down at Transitions Homeless Center. I worked the vocational piece for the club for a few years, but I've never really held any office. I'm kind of your average Rotarian. So I'm grateful for that. I am a two-time Paul Harris Fellow, and I think that's about it, Donald.
Well, hey, being a Rotarian is just a great thing. So we're glad to have you in our district, and I know the Spring Valley Rotary Club is honored to have you as a member. Before we jump in here, I do want to introduce a few people on the line. Past district governor from the Hilton Head Island Club, Mr. David Terrard, and his wife, Susan. District governor-elect from the Rotary Club of Myrtle Beach, Ms. Pauline Levesque. The Public Image Chair for the Rotary District, Ms. Mary Gass from the 5 Points Rotary Club in Columbia. And our technician, Terry, DAC DB Wizard Extraordinaire from the Somerville Evening Rotary Club in Somerville, South Carolina. More. So good morning, guys. Thank you for being on today. So Craig, now we want to learn everything about transitions and how you're helping the homeless population up in the Midlands. So to kick us off, you have sent me some questions, but I want you to kind of open this up with how many people are you currently serving? Are you growing? Tell us a little bit about transitions as a whole at first.
Well, Transitions, Donald, is a homeless center that's in downtown Columbia. If you're familiar with the city, we're on Elmwood in Maine. We're a brick complex there. We have 260 beds. We're capped by our zoning. So when you say, are we growing? Not in bed population, because we remain full every night with 260 adults, 18 or older. But we've seen more folks coming in during the day. One of the things that has happened is many places have closed to homeless folks, shelters not taking new clients. The library's been closed. there will be homeless people who go there during the day. And a lot of restaurants closed. Some folks have gone and would sit in a fast food restaurant of some type. So they end up coming to transitions to our day center. The day center normally sees about 90, and I'd say we're probably up about 20 or so now. So we're seeing about 110. So on a given day, we're 350 to 370 homeless folks that come in for help. And folks are from all over, predominantly Richland County, but a lot from Lexington. The next highest county is Orangeburg. And so we've got people really from throughout the state of South Carolina. And then we've got about 10 to 15% who come in from out of state. And generally those folks are coming in because they grew up in South Carolina, or grandma, or the infamous, my girlfriend was here, and then they came here and got thrown out. So there's a whole litany of reasons why people come from where they do. So that's what we do. So growing, no, we stay busy. We haven't cut any services. The only thing we do now is we do screen everybody for temperature when they come in. And if they present with a temperature, we get on the phone with the hospital and work on getting them tested. And ideally move to a hotel room through the county or DHEC.
Excellent. For those of you watching on Zoom, please go down to the chat box and tell us where you're watching from this morning and the Rotary Club that you're a member of. Also, Craig, as you know, this is streaming live on our Facebook page for the district. So after this is over, if you watch today, we want you to go to the Facebook page and share it on your club pages, share it on your personal pages, because I know this is going to be a great topic. And if you are on the Facebook page watching and you can hear me, we want you to put a comment there below and tell us where you're watching from and also your Rotary Club involvement and what Rotary Club you're in. Craig, real quick, we do have one person watching that is worth noting on the Facebook page. She is from our zone. So District 7770 is part of Zone 33. We have, she was a previous person that was featured here on Conversations with Rotary Action People. She does a lot with our foundation from the zone level. Miss Nancy Barbie is on the line. So thank you, Nancy, for being here. I think that's worth noting. Hope you're doing well, Nancy. So Craig, got some questions for you. And if you have a question throughout this process, guys, for Craig, post it in the chat box here on Zoom or in the comment section on Facebook, and we'll get to your questions here in just a little bit. But to kick it off, what does Transitions Homeless Center normally do?
Well, we meet the needs of homeless folks. So homeless adults that are in the Midlands, and we say the Midlands, the 13 counties that are considered part of the Midlands by the Homeless MOC, which is the Midlands Area Consortium for the Homeless. There are 4 groupings, and I know we've got people all over the state here. So you've got the upstate that generally centers out of Greenville. You've got MOC in the middle. You've got Echo over at Myrtle Beach and Florence, and then you have the Low Country that centers around Charleston. So those are the 4 continuum of cares in the state of South Carolina. We're the largest homeless center in MOC in the Midlands. And so what we normally do, we're going to take somebody who comes in, we're going to feed them, we're going to meet their basic needs, and we're going to try to get them into permanent housing. We're about getting people out of homelessness and into permanent housing the best we can. So we do that with partners. We've got about 50 agencies that partner with us. And I can talk more to those in a bit, but this is sort of a team sport. This is not something that one person can do or really one organization, because you may need mental health help. You may need substance help. The Salvation Army, we partner with them in the kitchen and they cook our food and our meals. So all these different nonprofits can come together and do the job much better. And so those 260 beds stay full. I'd like to tell you that they didn't, but there's still a tremendous need in the Midlands and really throughout the state. And we have a day center too. A day center is a place where even if you don't have a bed, if we're at capacity, a person can come in, use a phone, use computers, use bathrooms, take a shower, wash their clothes, and really kind of get reset for the day. And then we engage them and try to convince them that they need to come and get housing with us. So it's a continuous, we have outreach people as well who go out in the community and try to draw people into the center where they can get more help. All of that comes together. It's a full package of services that we reach out in the community and try to help people.
Thank you so much for explaining that. The second question I have for you this morning, Craig, is how are you different than other homeless shelters?
Well, the size is one thing. I mean, often in the various communities around the state, there may be some type of house and it has a different name, but it holds like 10 men or, 10 women. Again, we hold 260, predominantly about 2/3 male, 1/3 female, which is about what the ratio is nationally in society. There are more homeless men than homeless women. But with that said, it's constantly a goal of trying to reach out to people. So the amount of partners that we have, we're proud of. There's lots of folks here to meet all the different needs. I get asked often, why is somebody homeless? Well, the answer is always different for almost every different person. Sometimes it's one thing like addiction. Sometimes there's a dual diagnosis with could be addiction and mental health. Sometimes it's poor job skills. And the agencies that can help with these different problems are diverse. Some people will help with several problems. Some people, though, specialize in one area. So you really need them as a partner because you got to deal with addiction before you can really work the job piece to keep them in housing. The housing first model we do with rapid rehousing. So we can also put somebody right into housing, but you've got to follow up with some type of service and help or they're just not going to succeed in the housing environment if they can't pay rent. So again, all of these things come together to sort of make us different. The size, the partnerships, the men and women. Many shelters are single gender. We needed to tackle the problem when we were founded back in 2011. We needed more beds of all types for adults. So we went male and female when they established the facility. So it's worked, and we've done a great deal to help folks. We've put about 2,700 people into permanent housing since we were formed. And that's 2,700 people that aren't on the streets of Columbia, the Midlands, or the state of South Carolina.
That is outstanding. Typically, Craig, on these calls, we don't really introduce other people watching, but I do think this person deserves a recognition and an announcement, and to let everyone know she is on the line because she is a colleague of yours in your same business here along the Grand Strand. Not sure if you know her. She's the president of the New Directions of Horry County here along the Grand Strand in my area, and a Rotary Club of Myrtle Beach member, Miss Kathy Jenkins. So she's on the line here today too. Good morning, Kathy. And Craig, so you've given us a lot of information, but we got a lot of questions coming in through the chat box, which we're going to get to in just a minute. And also, if you have questions, please put them there. But the next one, I think, maybe the one I'm looking forward to your answer the most is, can you describe your normal client?
Good question, Donald. We generally are about 45 to 55 male. That's the sort of average, if you want to call it, homeless person that presents at transitions. We've got about 10%, 9 to 10% youth. Youth, by federal standards, we're going to define it's 17 to 24, but we're going to say 18 to 24. So in that population, we have men and women as well in the youth. And the elderly population has grown some. We're about 11% now of what we are 62 and older, men and women. And you'd like to think that everybody's on Social Security and all's well, and you're going to live your golden years out somewhere in a nice place, but that just doesn't work for everybody. And so we've got a lot of elderly who need help. And particularly in this coronavirus time, I mean, we're doing our best to try to isolate them and keep them separate. And they have the ability to stay in their room if they so choose, to stay away from folks. So it's, but that wide spectrum is not really 20s and 30s. It sort of picks up in the mid to later 40s and 50s and low 60s. That's kind of the average. Age-wise, gender-wise, we've already said it's about 2/3 male, 1/3 female. And then in terms of locations, we are predominantly Richland County, and I've said then, about 15% Lexington County, 55% Richland, and then you've got the rest of the state, and we do have some out of state who obviously come here for various reasons. And so, we're in the Midlands, and I'm glad Kathy's on for New Directions. New Directions is a great outfit, and they do much of what we do in ECHO, which is one of those continuum of cares that I mentioned. So, they would be the large homeless center in that area. And they have many of the same types of issues and the same types of folks at their center. So wherever you're listening in, Miracle Hill is the big center up in Greenville, and they do Spartanburg as well. So if you're in the upstate, you'll probably recognize that. And then 180 Place is Charleston's large homeless center. So all four continuums tend to have a large center. We're not all the same. We're all a little bit different. So I'm going to talk about transitions today, but many of your questions and problems will probably relate across the state, because there's not that much difference in homelessness between Greenville and Charleston. It has a lot of similarities. And I think that's kind of the average person, Donald.
Great. And how would you say, in terms of your population of homelessness is compared? Do you have any stats of how you compare number-based across the state? I mean, are you one of the highest, or everyone kind of in line? Do you know?
Well, Richland County, I think, is the highest in the state. And I may eat my words on that, but I do think they have the highest homeless population. And it does vary, but they tend to center in those counties where those major hubs are, the major homeless centers. They tend to be high homeless concentrations. Obviously, homelessness is more of an urban issue, but I don't want to rule out the rural areas, because there are homeless people in rural areas who have a very difficult time getting help. Some sort of bounce in and out of friends' homes or get support from a church, but they don't have 50 partners in a facility where they're really getting a lot of serious mental health or addiction help. And that's why a lot of people do come to the capital city. Like it or not, the major urban hubs where there are nonprofits and providers, people tend to come there to get help. And there's really nothing you can do about that. That's just a fact of urban differentiated from rural. So you can look in the point in time count. I know on the United Way website, you can type in point in time count. It's a HUD directed count, and it will give you the state report for last January, gives you the homeless number in every county in the state of South Carolina. I apologize that I don't memorize those numbers. And so you can compare them for yourself. If you live in a certain Horry County, you can see where Horry County stacks up against Richland or another county.
Thank you for that. Do you at Transitions partner with any other agencies in your community or across the state?
Well, the big ones, I mentioned Salvation Army with food. So we partner They have the expertise and the cooks who cook the food. We provide clients to help dishwashing and prepare the forks and napkins. We go out with a donation truck and gather food to keep our food bill down as much as possible. We split the cost of the food. So Salvation Army, they do a great job. We partner with them, and we're excited to have them as partners. The cooperative, the Eau Claire Health Cooperative, they do a great job. They run a clinic on site and partner here. We provide the space, and they come in and do their clinic work here with a nurse practitioner. So that's really good, because often the homeless people just walk into emergency rooms all over the state, and that's not the best way to treat anybody. It's just having, your primary care provider is the emergency room. That's not the way the system's designed. So Eau Claire can do that for the clients that stay here, and really the day users too. So again, they're always trying to help and draw people in. Columbia Area Mental Health does a great job. They have a person full-time on staff or on site here, not on our staff. And Bruce does a great job. He checks clients out. He refers them over to Columbia Area if they need medication or further counseling that he can't do here. So that mental health piece is really an aspect that's very important for homeless folks. The RADAC comes in and does addiction treatment. They'll have a person here about half the time. And she refers people. She does peer support classes. So, I mean, you need to have regular classes like AA and NA, which are always on site too. You've got to be able to do something for addiction, because that problem is definitely here with our clients. And then Mercy, the Mental Illness Recovery Center Incorporated, they send a person on part-time during the week as well, again, to work mental health. And they have a housing element as well that's nice. They will take some of their people and they'll get them housed permanently. So those are some of the major partners. We have other partners as well who will come in periodically, maybe once a month, to do STD screening, HIV screening. That's an example of a partner. The Legal Fund comes in, South Carolina Legal Service and Project Help. They will come in, Richland County Bar, and do pro bono legal work. That's always helpful, because so many of the clients, there's a back issue somewhere where they need to get resolved. Child custody issues are one, back debt. So something has to, require the expertise of a lawyer. So having them come in and do pro bono work is always a good thing. And so those are some examples of some of the partners that we have.
All right. And you may have just covered this in the question before the last one, and when I said the population of homelessness in your area, but how bad is homelessness in the Midlands right now?
The last count we had from the point in time count was 1,215 on a given night. That's really several thousand more. If you take that one night and then count it through the year, you go way up. The count for the state of South Carolina in the point in time count with the last data, which was released, I think it's 4,000 to 5,000. It's in that ballpark. So you can kind of see where the numbers sort of stack up, for the different 4 areas. I just gave you mocks. The upstate has a count, and I don't know that off the top of my head, but we tend to deal with the population adult-wise somewhere around 1,200. So there's always people here. And of course, anyone who spends the night in a homeless center, shelter, is considered homeless. So there's unsheltered homeless folks who sleep under a bridge or sleep in a parking garage. And then there are homeless people that are in a shelter or transitional housing. And it's not until they get placed into permanent housing that they're no longer considered homeless.
Wow. And a very important topic in the current pandemic that we're going through. How has this coronavirus pandemic impacted transitions?
Well, it's caused us to basically change almost all of our processes. But we're working through it. We made a commitment early on to keep our doors open to clients that are coming in for help. So we continue to take referrals from agencies and have clients walk in the facility. The only limitation on walking in is if you present with a fever or such a bad cough that we're going to question you at the door as to why you're coughing so badly. But generally the fever, we implement it. We had to go buy the forehead thermometers, and we sort of check people out on their foreheads as they come in to make sure they don't have a temperature. My church actually has made thousands of masks. So a good thing, maybe many churches in the state of South Carolina have helped by making masks. In my particular case, the church had a quilt makers group. You got to love this. And Prisma donated a large amount of surgical fabric. So there was a shortage of masks. We could not get masks, but we could get the surgical material that Prisma donated to us. And once we gave that to the quilt makers, they knew what to do. They just started making masks instead of quilts. And they got stuff from online, and they had a nurse who headed them up. And she knew exactly what to do. And so they were making some masks for the hospital. And when they ran out of that material, they took this Prisma large donation of material and just started making thousands of masks. So we've been able to pass those masks out to lots of agencies in the Midlands, all types really that would need a mask to help folks in need. And that's a great thing. Putting all the clients in a mask right now and all the staff in a mask and a face shield. And I'm not wearing my stuff, obviously, because I'm sitting in my office alone. But, if I go out, I've got a mask on, and then I got a face shield over my face as well. And we do the hand sanitizing. So those stations are now all over the place. The library loaned us 3 of their portable stands, and we can put those exactly where we need to have them. We do have an area cleared out for isolation. Should we have a person awaiting a test, we can put them on a cot in that area away from other clients. We try to maintain 6 feet at all times for everybody. And so we've painted lines on the floor and lines outside the facility and tape strips and you name it. And the clients are learning. So the clients have learned they got to keep their mask because they can't get in here without a mask. And so they know that now. But that was a change in mindset. The social distancing was a total change in mindset. And then we feed in shifts. Based on your type of bed, you either start at 12. If you're a day user and don't have a bed, you go first. And we've gone to feeding in 15-minute increments to decrease any line. And that's hard because homeless folks culturally, well, I got to get in line first or I'm not going to get my food. And we've had to try to break them and say, well, no, sir, you'll get your food at 12:15. Please don't get in line right now because we're doing a different group of people. And we do the meals in a clamshell to-go box. So we hand people, there's no waiting in any line. And they can also take it and go out in the courtyard and spread out on the grass and eat their meals. We generally reserve the dining area for the elderly and those in wheelchairs or disabled because they have a hard time moving their walkers out into the grass, period. So we like them to eat. They're the second group to go. And then we have emergency, and then we have our program beds. So everybody now knows what time they eat. We've extended the eating time an hour to an hour. We extended it 30 minutes. And so that lets everybody get food, have time to eat it, spread out from people. And, that part's been working well. I think those are most of the change. A lot of cleaning. We're constantly cleaning stuff. The staff cleans, the clients clean. We have clients with bottle spray and they spray stuff, the common area counters. We clean the dining area after every meal to make sure everything's cleaned up. So it's constantly a struggle. I mean, nothing's easy. It's hard to talk to people with a mask and a face shield on, but we do that. And often we talk outside now on a bench or across a table so we can get 6 feet instead of a cubicle area, which the clients, I mean, the case managers have. You really can't get that 6 feet dispersion that you need. So often we'll talk now out in a conference room that's big, or in the day center, which is really big, or outside where you can get fresh air. So there have been changes. This has not been an easy process.
So a question that came from the audience here in relation to this question is, how has the community supported you during the COVID-19 response?
Well, the volunteer base that we have is kind of dried up, and I don't blame that. That people, obviously are staying at home and staying safe, and that's what they should do. I would comment that we have now made like volunteers for meals, and the Spring Valley Rotary has come now for 3 meals with just a handful of people. We don't need much, but we make the meals into the clamshell boxes away from any clients. So really you can come, we can disperse you, and everybody wears masks in the kitchen. And so all the volunteers wear masks. So the volunteers are starting to trickle back in as the state starts to loosen some of the restrictions. But I perfectly understand anybody who's reticent to come in. In fact, I will discourage somebody if they're worried about it, or certainly if they're in any of the at-risk groups, they should not come to any crowded area. I don't care what their purpose is, because we want them to stay well. We've got folks who can do clamshell boxes, and sometimes the clients help and do the clamshell. So the community has continued to volunteer. They've helped with money and donations. So that's a big help. Some of the larger philanthropic groups have put out some special grants to help. One of our big restaurant donors, one of our big donors is a restaurant person. Of course, their income stopped completely, so they had to stop, giving money, and they had to cut their donations way back. So some of those kinds of things have happened, and there have been people in the community step up and give. Some of the individual giving has increased with people. So that's a piece that the community has done. And this always being supportive of homeless people is a good thing too, because they are underrepresented and not spoken for. So they need advocacy from everybody. And regardless of your political stance on anything, these folks are in poor health. They don't have any money, and they don't have any place to stay. So they really kind of need help. You can't tell them to go home and self-isolate. That doesn't work. They can't hide for 2 months because they don't have any food. So somebody's got to feed them, and that's what Transitions is signed up to do. So COVID-19 or not, we're going to drive on doing the best we can, trying to help people.
And Craig, just so you know, we got a few more questions here coming in for you. The next one is, have you seen any positive cases of COVID among those who are with you? Or have you had any temps of someone that you checked their temperature and they had to be moved into quarantine through DHEC?
So we have had the temperature piece. And again, we work with EMS, we work with Prisma, we work with DHEC, and try to get them to a room. Some of them have waited for the screening and come back negative. So the miracle so far is we have not had a positive COVID-19 case here. We've had staff go home, one sick, one from exposure, but they were tested in the end and they didn't have it either. I don't know, God's working in a powerful way. So keep praying, and I'm just praying that across the whole state and the nation and the world that this whole COVID-19 mess would pass and it would end. But right now, we've not had a positive test. We have had temperatures, and we've dealt with those on a case-by-case basis.
That is good news. Do you serve families with sheltering?
Okay, so and this varies throughout the state, and I would encourage all Rotarians to kind of know what the homeless shelters in their areas do. we do not help families directly. We have adult men and they go to an area, and we have adult women and they go to an area. Sometimes the two are married and technically that is a family, but it would be misleading to answer the question. You know, if they have children, and some of our people have lost custody of their children, so we're trying to work with the social support agencies so they can get the children back. But generally, if you have a family, they would go to Homeless No More, to the family shelter, or St. Lawrence Place. Generally, you enter the family shelter. So we're on the phone if someone presents with a child, trying to call some of the other agencies. Hannah House is here in town. They would take children. But right now, those agencies aren't taking new people. But that's where they would go on a normal basis.
All right. I've got 3 more questions for you. What is your success rate for taking someone from homelessness to an active member of society?
If we get the person into housing, we're at 40 to 50% success rate, probably 50-ish. If they're walking in the street and we can't get them to housing, we're about 20%. That decision to get someone who is a day user into housing, it's not as easy as you think. About 50% or so will make that decision that, yeah, I'm raising my hand. I'll try to get off drugs. I'll get mental health counseling. I'll get a job. I'm committed to getting into a bed. And for emergency, you don't have to commit. Our lowest level of housing, you don't have to commit to that. But once we get you into a bed, life goes, your percentage chance of getting into permanent housing goes way up.
Do you currently work with the Oliver Gospel Mission?
Oliver Gospel's been in here. I've been over there and toured with them. Travis is their new executive director. In fact, we were able to get some of our church mask over to Oliver Gospel. The answer is yes, but not a whole lot, to be honest. So they target adult males. Toby's Place targets adult women and children. We're all on the same team trying to help homeless people. Of course, Oliver Gospel will have a Christian approach in what they do. We are a secular nonprofit. Religious aspects are voluntary. So we have Bible studies, but we do not require that for food or for a bed or for any service. You can go to the clinic or get mental counseling, or for addiction or mental health issues, and there's no religious requirement at all for that. But Oliver Gospel, they have beds, and about a third of them come to us during the day. So we have a lot of Oliver Gospel people here during the day. For those that don't have the day program, many of their clients will come over here for help.
And our last question for you, Mr. Craig, very informational, very beneficial stuff you've been telling us here, comes from Facebook. How is the issue with the lack of affordable housing in the Columbia area impacting residents from moving out of transitions into independent housing once they graduate from your program?
Okay, somebody knows what they're talking about who asked that question. That's always a problem. I mean, if there was lots of affordable housing, there would be fewer homeless people in America. And part of the areas that have the worst homelessness issues in America have average rents have gone much higher than what people can afford. So in the end, they end up sleeping in their cars or such, or end up coming to a place like transitions. Transitions, though, we're not in the business of creating housing. That's not what we do. So we're going to take a person wherever they're at and try to figure out, okay, how are we going to get you into permanent housing? And, you know, clients don't want to be homeless. I mean, there are some, it sounds kind of strange that some people might actually want to be homeless, but the majority do not want to be homeless. And so we have to work with them on whatever they can afford. And we encourage people with roommates. So roommates may be the key that pushes them over the threshold where they can afford something. So affordable housing is a key issue. I don't downplay it at all. But win, lose, or draw, at the end of the day, our case managers are working to place people into housing, either by conventional means with rapid rehousing, whatever assets we can bring to bear, a partner that has permanent supportive housing funding. You know, we're going to try to figure out whatever is possible to get someone into a house. And that's the key. You really do need to get them into permanent housing so they can get the job, so they can have stability in their lives, and they can follow treatment plans. All of those things get much better when you've placed someone into housing. I want to thank you guys for letting me talk today. I hope I haven't gone on too long or anything, and hopefully this has been useful to you all.
I want to echo the comment that just came through. You know, thank you, Craig, for the work that you do on a daily basis. You know, we appreciate your time. I know your time is very valuable, and I know I definitely learned something about transitions, but more importantly, I think those that also joined today had a chance to learn about what's happening up in the Midlands there. 3 announcements to close us down today. The first being, once we end this meeting, this is live on our Facebook page, so you can always go back to the Rotary International District 7770 Facebook page. We encourage you to share that video on your club's Facebook pages, share it on your personal pages, and please make sure if you're watching today, reach out to your public image chair to make sure maybe they can join us on Wednesday, or maybe they'll join us on a Friday, or they'll help you spread the word about what we're doing, because these conversations are really, really great, and they're sharing lots of information about people in our district who are doing amazing things for people, not only in their communities, but, you know, around the Rotary district here in South Carolina. The second announcement, Terry Moore has his background up, so if he actually spoke, you could see it, but you have probably received some emails from District Governor Johnny Moore. Next Tuesday is the awards night. That is from 7 to 9 p.m. We want you, it'll be through Zoom. More information will be coming on how you can get on. I think we're also going to stream that on the Facebook page as well. But this is in replace to the district conference. So Johnny will be recognizing a lot of great clubs and a lot of great individuals in our district through the awards night. So stay tuned, May 12th, Tuesday night, next week, 7 to 9 p.m. The third announcement for today is we do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. We've got the next at least maybe 3 to 4 speakers are lined up currently. Coming up on Wednesday this week, you'll get to hear from the president of the CWRAP Club, the club that I am a part of. He is going to talk about our Giving Wednesday campaign. So we'll see everyone on Wednesday. To end today, I'm going to talk about recite the Rotary 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That's a wrap for Conversations with Rotary Action People for Monday, May 4th. Thank you for watching on Zoom. Thank you for watching on Facebook. Craig, outstanding job. Pleasure meeting you. Keep doing amazing work up there in the Midlands. Have a great day, guys.
Yep. Thanks for all that Rotary's doing. Thank you.
Terry, please, stop the recording.